Do we draft Breece Hall in 2025? I'm going to tell you right now. Yes, the answer is yes. Why? Because the doubters will not go away. The doubters will only grow in numbers. And any risk or concern you have that you're dialing into 2024 and the result and what you saw in Aaron Rodgers, all of it is going to be baked into the newfound value that Breece Hall will walk into 2025 with. So you got to let go of 2024. You can't bring your analysis and your reactionary tales and your reactionary knee-jerk reactions to last year and speak to Breece Hall's probably third round or later, but we'll call it third round, even if it was second round, late second round ADP. You can't bring any of that to the table or you're going to miss out. Like the frog thrown in boiling water, jumps out. Okay? That's everybody right now. Oh, Breece Hall, I don't want anything to do with him. He screwed me last year. Put that frog in lukewarm water. Turn it on high. The temperature starts to rise. He doesn't notice. It just gets a little warmer. Every single second, a little bit warmer, he boils to death. That's a lot of you right now not realizing that the value of Breece Hall is subtly changing, and you're just sitting there with your stance of, I don't want anything to do with him. Aaron Glenn, good hire. Head coach, probably head coach of the New York Jets, barring any sort of craziness. Aaron Glenn will be the head coach of the New York Jets. I'll tell you why this is great for Breece Hall 2025. And the haters will still pile on no matter how much noise we make. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
So lots to go over. Second year was a bust. Third year, even bigger bust. KJV, you do know that Breece Hall was running back 2 overall in 2023, right? Before you start. I mean, but please, KJV, you know you're my boy. I'm not mad at you. Please peddle Breece Hall negativity as much as you can. I appreciate it because I'm going to get him cheaper. I'm going to get him in steal territory. This is probably the Kyren Williams and Achane of 2025. The 2024 version of where we got Kyren and Achane over and over and over. You package in third round value, the risk involved, it's like taking candy from a baby. Now, the reason I believe this will be very good, this is a very defensive-minded guy, defensive-minded guys. They want to run the damn ball. They want their defense and their run to coincide. They want to have the correlation. They want to have, they want to bring in excellent minds as well. And this is a report that just came out from Ryan Clark, who said that, or actually, I think it was Jordan Schultz. Sorry, yeah, right here, Jordan Schultz said, if Aaron Glenn lands the head coaching job, which he certainly will, keep an eye on Lions linebacker coach Kelvin Shepard. This is going to be something where we see him bring in more big name people, especially from this Detroit Lions situation, which is going to be kind of similar to the Falcons bringing all the Rams people over. You know, it was like Raheem Morris brought over Zach, and then they just built this pretty solid foundation, which we didn't see unveil itself until the end of the year. So we do have some blame to cast on Raheem Morris, and a lot of people want Raheem Morris fired, but I think it's a little early for that. I think Raheem Morris still is the brains behind making sure Penix Jr. was in place, and we're going to see that unfold, I think, in a very good fashion. Not to mention Breece Hall was an absolute marvel. And not to mention London looks like he's walking. You know, no one wants Raheem Morris gone right now. I don't think. If you do, you're wanting to start over, which is not really smart when things are looking like they're firing on all cylinders. But the formula is great. The formula is great. You bring over a player's coach in Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn was drafted by the New York Jets. Aaron Glenn was a good player for the New York Jets. And he had his first coaching opportunity with the New York Jets. This is a very, very close to home hire for the New York Jets, and I think it fits very, very well. And I'm excited about how it probably builds the foundation of this entire team around Breece Hall and around the run game with a solid defense. I think it's going to be a blessing in disguise that this whole thing went the way it went this year. I know everybody's very disappointed in Breece Hall, and that's fine. And I like that people are disappointed in Breece Hall. I want people to perpetuate that narrative and tell as many people as they can. Because the later we get him, make no mistake, I don't want to draft him at last year's value. I'm not taking Breece Hall, even if he climbs ADP-wise. Everybody gets excited. He climbs into the top 5 overall. I'm not taking him there. I wouldn't take him there. The reason I'm in on the Breece Hall 2025 campaign is because the man is going to be a steal. The man is going to easily earn you third-round value, even if he disappoints, and he can win you a league like Kyren Williams, like Devon Achane, from the top of round 3 in 2024. This is the 2025 version of Kyren Williams and also Devon Achane from 2024. This is the version. This is the 2025 version of it. And it all begins through a good coaching hire to change the culture, change the dynamic of the offense, run the damn ball, have a good defense, which they definitely have. It just needs to be cultivated and brought together. And Aaron Glenn is a player's coach. I think it's going to work out really well. I think it's going to be awesome. Good player on a cursed team. I think the reason why Breece Hall is going to be such a steal is no one's going to be able to let go. No one's going to be able to let go. No one's going to be able to adjust and adapt. As I tell you guys about the line in the sand and the potential turning and shifting of a player from cautionary player. Don't draft him. It's not good value. Stay away. Let me bring Breece Hall onto screen here and drop him here, and we'll move him around, and I'll kind of show you where I think the line of the sand would be. So if Breece Hall was going where he was last year, this is an avoid. This is a total avoid. In fact, let's bring this over to this screen. He's an avoid in round 1. We're not drafting him in round 1. Is his line in the sand round 2? Not really. I think, no, based on even the reactions in a Breece Hall friendly environment, he's catching strays all show long already. So I don't even think we're going to have to be looking at the line in the sand being anywhere in round 2. But even if it was at the tail end of round 2, that would be fine. I think where we're probably talking is Breece Hall being his line in the sand being somewhere around 3. And even if it was at the top of round 3, let's move this up slightly. Let's move this line in the sand right here. This is a fantastic territory for Breece Hall. This is where he goes from avoid, flips through the line in the sand and becomes a total grab. And the frog in the boiling water analogy applies here more than it applies really with anything I could give you this entire offseason in terms of explaining that analogy, because everyone's going to hold their negativity, hold their judgment, hold their disappointment, bottle it up, get frustrated, and say, I want nothing to do with them. I want nothing to do with him right here at 5 overall. Agreed. I want nothing to do with him here at 5 overall. He's not at 5, he's at 12. I want nothing to do with him at 15 because it reminds me of what he did at 5. Once he gets to the 3rd round, people are still saying, I want nothing to do with him. I won't draft Breece Hall. The same conversation last night with Cooper Kupp. I will never draft Cooper Kupp. I call Cap on that because of Cap. If he's sitting there in round 10 and he's on the Bengals, you're not going to adjust and adapt and say, why not take him in round 9 or 10? This is a line in the sand process that you need to go through with every player evaluation. Breece Hall has got a line in the sand. Joe Burrow has a line in the sand. Just because Joe Burrow was QB2, would you take Joe Burrow in round 1? They probably have a similar line in the sand. And that's not because we don't love Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was QB2 in 2024. Do you take Joe Burrow in round 1? No. His line in the sand is not in round 1. It's just unfortunate. The value is what the value is. Would you take Joe Burrow round 2? No. His line in the sand is probably somewhere in the 3rd round or the 3-4 turn. And that's fantastic value. Sometimes our personal line in the sand might be, let's say you take Joe Burrow at 3.1. Don't tell anybody because his ADP is going to be much later than that. So you got to move his actual line in the sand and make sure you take advantage of ADP and draft order. This is the way it works. Breece Hall is an absolute gem anywhere in the 3rd to 4th round territory. And dare I say, everybody says he's not going to be a 4th rounder. Well, I'm watching a very Breece Hall friendly chat again gain strays left and right. I am pretty confident that there's at least a world where Breece Hall could flirt with the 4th round value. And I'm all on board that. I'm on board that train so fast. We've got this right here, Caleb Williams. Athletic is whatever. But whenever they post this in NBC or CBS or somebody picks it up, I usually try and talk about it. Athletic reports that the Bears coach Ben Johnson, the hiring of Ben Johnson, will empower Caleb Williams. Maybe it will. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. I think Ben Johnson could have selected a much safer avenue. He did not. He chose an organization that is not serious about football. He chose an organization that's run by non-serious people that don't know anything about football. He chose an organization that from the top down has the problem sitting there above you in Ryan Poles as one of the worst GMs in football, and it will trickle down. Could Ben Johnson overcome it? Maybe. And he's the best opportunity to turn it around. I agree with that, especially coming over from Detroit. What scares me more than anything, though, this situation here. Let me mute down Christian Watson, who's kind of a non-factor anyway. Let's go over to the draft order. I think I have it right here. What scares me more than anything is Ben Johnson wanting to bring Genty in at this 10 pick. If Genty goes 10 overall, I'm going to be punching the air. I'm going to be punching the air the entire rest of the first round. I might even end the live stream right when this happens. If it happens and Ben Johnson takes Genty, I will probably, in frustration, break something in my studio and end the live stream immediately. I hope he doesn't. I hope he goes offensive line. We'll find out. But Caleb Williams has a better shot than he did. That's for sure. I'm not going to sit here and not acknowledge that Ben Johnson's a great mind. But we also still don't know if Ben Johnson... We just don't know if Ben Johnson's going to turn into a great head coach. I mean, it doesn't always translate. You can't just jump into that job and just because you're a great offensive coordinator, know how to run the business. This is a chef in a kitchen, offensive coordinator, cooking. And now you're pulling him out of the kitchen, asking him to do a lot less cooking, which hurts the offense in a way, right? You pull a head coach out and he's got to do everything in the world. He's got to do the P&L, the hiring and the firing, the marketing, the training, all that stuff. I'm giving you an example in restaurant terms. And now, how much cooking can he really do? How is he distracted? Is he working on his cooking? Is he learning new things? Is he absorbing? Or is he letting things kind of slide? Is he doing things half measure? Is he not tested? Is he not really improving upon his cooking skills? He's not. So you have to be a special person to go from OC to amazing head coach. And it could be Ben Johnson. I'm not saying it won't. But you couple in the fact that you got Caleb, who I don't believe in. And I said that from the jump. And so far, I've been correct. So far, my assessment of the quarterback class 2024 has been perfect.
You've just been Smitty.
Call that arrogant, call it whatever you want. But we've got video footage to back it up. We've got years long worth of content to prove that we told you. And that if you believe that Caleb Williams is some sort of top 1 to 2 quarterback, and you said it earlier, he was in the best situation a quarterback could have ever been in. What's changed? Oh, now Ben Johnson's going to put him in the best situation a quarterback's ever been in. It's been JD5, it's been Penix Jr., it's been Bo Nix, Drake May. Those have all been better quarterbacks. They'll always be better quarterbacks. Caleb Williams doesn't have the it factor. He can't command a locker room of men. They've questioned him inside the locker room ever since day one. He's gotten constant, you better not bring that Hollywood into the NFL. He'll get eaten alive by his own teammates. He's had DJ Moore hate publicly, very visually, hate to be catching footballs from him on the sideline, quitting on plays. DJ Moore walking off the field. Caleb isn't it. And I've said that from the jump. And everybody just has an excuse after excuse after excuse. Well, maybe his nail polish, changing color will help, Smitty. We'll find out. We'll find out. Christian Watson, not likely to be ready for 2025. Let me also give you an actual brute, honest truth. He'll never, probably ever be relevant again. The reason I say this is injuries are very predictive. The best way to predict injury is to look at your history of injury. And Christian Watson has had a hamstring issue his whole career. And the reason he had a hamstring issue is one of his legs was 30% smaller than his other leg. And he continued to pile on injury after injury after injury with this damn hamstring situation. And now he tears his ACL. And do you know what is most likely to occur coming off an ACL tear? Hamstring issues. This guy's probably cooked in terms of being anything consistent. Even if he somehow in the middle of the year, at the end of the year, has a 150-yard, 1-touchdown game, and people are like, oh, he's back, he'll just get hurt again. The odds of him having a good 2025 at all are near slim to none. Maybe we reassess this later, but if you're in Dynasty, you better sell, and don't expect a single thing from him in 2025. Liam Cohen, most likely to be the Jacksonville Jaguar head coach. He'll bring in some good names. We've talked about that already. He's a pretty decent hire. This guy is probably going to bring, I think, his best attempt at fixing this quarterback situation in Jacksonville. You got BTJ. You've got maybe one of my favorite quietly under the radar landing spots for Ashton Genty at number 5 overall. They could even trade down a couple picks and probably still land him. Maybe they get Scatterboo later. I'm not saying I don't like Bigsby and ETN, but I certainly would throw them to the back burner the moment they bring in either Scatterboo or Dylan Sampson later on or whoever. But I think Genty would be an exciting player to bring into this situation where you'd have a tripod of glory in Trevor Lawrence. And I know he hasn't been great, but look what happened to Baker. Look what happened to Baker. I mean, look, Baker was turned around. Does anybody not see a very relevant correlation here? Maybe this man, instead of turning around Baker Mayfield, decide I'm going to turn around a guy named Trevor Lawrence with the most magnificent milky hair in the world. Maybe we bring back the milk show, okay? The milk spotlight. The milk might not be spoiled, okay? No pause intended. The absolute glorious video clip that we have of Trevor Lawrence soaking his hair in milk and it growing right before our very eyes might return to the show. We've got Kevin O'Connell, head coach, extended. Why not? Why wouldn't you? Look what this guy's been doing in Minnesota, turning absolute frogs into princes. I mean, I don't know what's next. J.J. McCarthy might be a top 5 quarterback. Why wouldn't you? Josh McDaniels, this is an interesting one. We'll probably have a lot of conversation around this one because there's a lot of people that are going to say, I don't know about Josh McDaniels. I don't know about Josh McDaniels. And I agree with that sentiment. Like we're kind of torn on whether this guy is really good or really bad. And so we'll see. I kind of think he's like a lot of coaches or offensive coordinators or offensive minds or whatever the case may be. I kind of feel like he's a lot better when he doesn't have the responsibility that we just talked about. Where you take Ben Johnson, you turn him into a head coach in a problematic situation, he'll fall apart. You take Kingsbury, you put him in a head coaching role with a lot of responsibility where he doesn't have time to cook in the kitchen as an OC, he falls apart. I think Josh McDaniels with the right coach, okay, and Vrabel is that right coach. This is actually really good. I think at the end of the day, McDaniels with Vrabel is not bad. I don't know that it's a lock. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that he does bring a lot of potential good to this scenario. And the fact that he's just going to be an offensive coordinator, it changes the game a little bit. There's a lot of people that have knee-jerk box score Bobby reactions where they say, oh, Kingsbury's awful. Remember that when your boy said Kingsbury to Washington will be glory? And what did everybody say? Kingsbury was an awful head coach in Arizona, Smitty. What makes you think he's the right man for the job over in Washington, Smitty? Because he's going to be an offensive coordinator. He gets to worry about cooking in the kitchen. He doesn't have to worry about the P&L, the hiring, the firing, the marketing, the advertising, the training. He's just going to be offensive coordinator, where Kingsbury lives and thrives. Now, I'm not saying Josh McDaniel hasn't failed, but he has had success as well. So you put him there with Vrabel, who's going to be the backbone of the discipline and the vibe and the culture, and McDaniels only has to guide the ship in a very compartmentalized way. I believe it could be good. I don't know that and guarantee that it will be, but I think it could be a good formula. People need to understand. It's so weird to me when everybody says things like that. Oh, Kingsbury was a bad coach in Arizona. Especially, like, I got it from Niner fans because I'm a Cardinal fan. I'm in Arizona. And I got it nonstop. Like, oh my God, Kingsbury, Smitty, your bad head coach going to Washington to ruin your boy JD5. It's like, bro, do you even understand what you're saying? Do you even watch football? Do you even watch football? Because it's very different to judge Kingsbury as a head coach versus an offensive coordinator. It's very different to judge Josh McDaniels as an offensive coordinator or a head coach. This is why I love the formula of a Vrabel and an offensive coordinator. An OC and a DC, high-powered OC and DC under a big-name monster like Vrabel. That's why I like Aaron Glenn being the head coach over in New York to set the tone and set the culture. Then you bring in the OC and the DC to be the minds that was Ben Johnson in Detroit. You've got the backbone of the Detroit Lions, granted by a coach that's a wild man that ruins things a lot when it comes to playoff contention and good decision making. I'm not saying Campbell's perfect, but from a general perspective, Campbell has been a great backbone and culture setter in Detroit with Ben Johnson there. Look at DeMeco Ryans in Houston. He's not the brains of the offense. It's been Slowick, and now Slowick is slowing down a little bit, granted, but the formula is a formula of glory. And so you give me Vrabel and McDaniels might be better than just Ben Johnson. You can laugh at that all you want. I'm not saying that Ben Johnson isn't the better offensive choice with Vrabel, but Ben Johnson wasn't going to take an offensive coordinator job. This might be better than people think. This is what I'm trying to tell you. We got Calvin with a $9.99 holler. My boy says the bigger news isn't Glenn, it's AP's right-hand man. Newmark being GM. Excellent hires for both Breece Hall to Saturn. Calvin, Breece Hall is a good value. I know you're an extra Breece Hall super fan, but I agree with you. So I just want to make that clear. Smitty, I have an opportunity to pick up Jaden Daniels for Stroud and Caleb Williams. Would I be giving up too much? You know, honestly, I think it's probably one of the worst trades this other person could even cook up. Like, in fact, I'm sending you on a lap for even asking, but while you take your lap, pat yourself on the back because you did glorious things. But, bro, Jaden Daniels over Stroud and Caleb Williams, I don't even care if it is a super flex. Like, you take Jaden Daniels and you run. Again, that's more of a victory lap than it is a lap of punishment, but I just want you to know how I feel. It's kind of like when they knight you and you become a knight. They make you say your oath, and they slap you across the face so you'll remember your oath. That's basically why I sent you on a lap, so you never trade JD5 or disrespect him once he's on your roster. Go make that trade now, young man. Is Rashee Rice's legal troubles being swept under the rug now? Why would you say that, Ray G? I don't think so. I think he's probably looking at a suspension. I don't know if it will be as big as maybe sweeping under the rug could be. A form of that could be that it's not as big of a suspension, but he's certainly going to hit the the suspension list for just a little bit. I mean, it could be 4 games, could be 3, could be 2, could be 6. It's hard to know, but yeah, he's definitely the league doesn't just let things go, but they could definitely dumb it down a little bit. But his recovery, you know what it might be though, Ray G. Maybe he's suspended during his recovery process. Maybe he needs a little bit more time and he's out for the beginning part of the year and he comes back strong. One thing I do know is if you're wanting to take a hit, you want to take it early on, especially if you're in recovery mode. It gives you just a little bit more time to get healthy. And then no one remembers 2-3 weeks of being out when it's week 5 and you're tearing it up. Dynasty Superflex, CJ or Drake May? That's a really good question. I'd probably take Drake May because CJ Stroud's worrying me right now. And I'm not saying that he can't be a good quarterback, but do I think of CJ Stroud more like a Trevor Lawrence versus looking at him like a top 5 QB? Yes. And I don't know that that's going to change. I think he's a good quarterback. Would I trade Kyler Murray for CJ Stroud in a millisecond? I would send Kyler Murray in a bow over to the Houston Texans for CJ Stroud. I give up a first rounder. I give up the Cardinals 2025 first rounder to trade out Kyler Murray for CJ Stroud. He's a good quarterback. He's just been a little bit lost. And I think he returns, but does he return to top 5 status? No. I think he's a Jared Goff. Probably a little bit better than a Jared Goff. And don't balk at that and act like that's a crazy statement, because before Goff turned into a pumpkin here in the 2024-2025 playoffs that we just watched, he was everybody's favorite. He's underrated. So that's what CJ is. Drake May has a chance to be a notch above him, so I take Drake May. But it's arguable for sure. I don't think that's one where somebody could just laugh at the answer. Dial into the phone line.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Dial in. Let's see here. Rice would be tremendous value. Rice could be but he's probably going to see a little bit of a suspension. Ben Johnson will, says Kingsley. I don't know what you mean by that. Theo, you're live. Theo, what can I do for you? And this video is still to come, by the way. The video I have on screen, I have not yet. I'm trying to edit and create this so that there's a dynasty version and a redraft version that drop pretty much on the same time, and they link to each other, and you can jump back and forth. So stay tuned on this one. It could be tonight, might be tomorrow. I'm a little delayed on it. Go ahead, Theo. You're live.
Yeah, are you sending Caleb for Stroud in Dynasty?
What makes you... Okay, so you just heard me say that I do like Stroud. I don't think he's a top 5 guy, but I like him. I would trade Kyler Murray for him in a heartbeat. What have I ever said about Caleb Williams that would make you think I would say the same thing?
Well, you hate Caleb, though.
Right.
But Ben Johnson's a really good coach.
What I'm asking you again is, what have I ever said about Caleb that would make you think that I would want Caleb over CJ Stroud? After what I just said about CJ Stroud, and after how I continuously tell you Caleb Williams is a bust, what on earth would make you think that I would change my mind on this question?
Probably nothing other than Ben Johnson.
Okay. Is it impossible that Caleb gets turned around by Ben Johnson? Pause. I pause. Let's redo. Can we redo? Let's start over. Let's hit the intro. Oh boy. Let's go back. Ready? All right, and we're live. What makes you think? The truth is, bro, Ben Johnson, it's possible that he turns Caleb Williams into a better quarterback. Better. But he's not going to be a top 5 quarterback. But I'm not saying Stroud will.
But Stroud can be, though.
Yeah. Stroud can be.
And Caleb can't be.
Correct. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
That's my opinion. All right. Good talk, Theo. Hey, Smitty, I know you just said that Caleb is you wouldn't even pick him up if he's a free agent, which isn't exactly the truth, but just exaggerating it. Would you trade for Caleb Williams? Oh. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Yeah, Stroud is, even though we made fun of Stroud walking up to Caleb and giving Caleb advice and then Stroud turning into a pumpkin this year, I still believe that he is by far and away the better quarterback than Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is a party trick. What is up, my boy Rock Out?
Yeah, what was that with Ron, the other guy, saying Hurts is better than Mahomes?
Wait, what?
A couple nights ago, Ron and the other guy was like, Hurts was better than
What about
Mahomes.
it? What about it?
I was trying to figure out what their angle was as far as...
I don't know. I mean, Ron probably hit his head. I don't know why Ron thought that. I don't know why Ron thought, because Ron, look, from a fantasy perspective, I get it, but we weren't talking fantasy. We made it very clear. We continued to, make sure we were clear about that. I don't know why anybody in their right mind, if Ron's watching, I'm sorry to say, Ron, I think you hit your head. I don't know anybody in their right mind that if they're a GM, not fantasy, a GM of a football team, you would even consider taking Jalen Hurts over Patrick Mahomes to run your franchise as a football GM. I don't know why Ron decided. Ron just likes to argue. He either hit his head or he just wanted to come in hot and argue the other side like he always does. But sometimes, Ron kind of said it. Like, why haven't you hung up on me yet? I think from now on, I don't think anybody's immune from the hang up. You come in with an awful take and you're trying to just argue, you will get hung up on. No offense needs to be taken, though. But that was, I don't know. I wanted to play it out for a while because I wanted to get to the meat and potatoes of his argument, and I couldn't. It was just I don't know. And that other guy from, I don't know I forget his name. I think it was Liam or something from Arizona. He's welcome to call back in anytime. I'm not mad at him. But, anyway, what else you got, Rock Out? We did a whole show on that, so what else you got?
JD5 is the best quarterback in the NFC.
You mean the league, maybe?
Yeah, the league.
I mean, if you're starting a franchise today, you're maybe taking JD5 number 1 overall as an NFL GM because he's just getting started. Of course, I like Josh Allen and Mahomes, as an NFL GM. Taking the number 1 overall player. If all the players were released and thrown into the player pool, then you would consider Mahomes, regardless of fantasy. You're talking about using your brain here, okay? But JD5, given where he's at as a rookie, it's not a crazy notion to be he will become better than Josh Allen or anybody given some time. Could he fall apart and have the sophomore slump? I mean, we did think CJ Stroud would be top 5, 6-ish, but it's a little bit of a different tier. JD5's playing on a 5 times level higher tier than what Stroud played on as a rookie. So I don't think it's the same. Not to mention, I could care less about how history played out for one quarterback versus another. They're completely unrelated. That's why I hate when people say, well, I went running back last year and it didn't work for me. My running back got hurt. It's are you really going to bring 2024's injury situation that has nothing to do with the 2025 stacking of ADP and player values, you're going to bring that to the table, or if somebody, got screwed going wide receiver and they took, Tyreek Hill, I'm not going wide receiver in round 1 this year. Like, just blanket statement, I'm not doing it based on last year, which has no correlation to the players involved at the top of round 1 if you're going wide receiver. It's just ridiculous thinking. It's scared Scotty type stuff. You're going to be worried about ranking JD5 high because Stroud busted. You're a fragile Freddy and is scared Scotty.
Yep, nothing phases him. He got that dog in him.
Dude, he's so good. There probably is no prediction we've ever had on this show better than the JD5 prediction. Not just because, like, we were right about something that was pretty obvious, or like this was like the furthest distance from prediction to actual value. The so much ground got covered. Like, this guy was not a startable quarterback in fantasy as a rookie. It was somebody you might put on your bench and hope something happens, some magic happens, whatever, and you could trade him. But it was like he went from rags to riches. Maybe the number 1 overall 2025 fantasy football quarterback is probably the biggest prediction we've ever had. And I don't know if we'll ever top it on this channel, which is kind of like fun, but also like a little bit of a downer. Like, it's only downward from here. We only can go down from here. Our best prediction ever just landed. Get ready for a lesser prediction this year. See you all tomorrow. What we got to do is just consolidate, combined. We got to, because we'll never have a better prediction than JD5 on this channel. We just won't. We got to have 2 or 3 or 4 more extra predictions go through, and combined it will be a better year. That's what we got to do.
Yeah, we need like 3 at least.
We need 3, a little bit lesser predictions to all land, but we hit a lot anyway. It was a great year. It was a great year overall. Arian Foster back in the day was pretty solid. Yeah, Jeff, that might be, to be honest with you, and it's going to be hard for a lot of people to even like fathom that, because some people didn't even play fantasy football back then. But Arian Foster might have been also kind of neck and neck the best prediction ever by your boy, just because he was a 7th rounder. He was like a 6th, 7th rounder when I started pushing the prediction. I said he'd be a 1 to 5 overall running back. I did that on CBS. I think it was CBS, not NBC at the time that the show was on. And I went on CBS Sports Radio. I did it every week. It was a 19-year run on CBS, NBC. And I went out there on a freaking limb. And I said my bold prediction of the year is my number 1 prediction. I isolated it down to the one prediction. I said Arian Foster, 6th, 7th round pick. The only thing you had going was he was an undrafted free agent to the Houston Texans his rookie year and had played week 16 and week 17, and that's it. He had 200-yard games, I believe, back-to-back. No one really knew anything about him. They're like, oh, this is some backup that's just, running his tread off the tires at the end of the year just to kind of, just because it's the end of the year. And week 17 is when he really had his big game. And so it was like, oh, week 17, everybody sits their starters. Not a big deal. Came in and I said this, and he's kind of going in 6th, 7th round because people wondered, they were excited about him. I forget who the other player was. There was another running back in that backfield that was potentially going to start over him. They didn't know they were going to battle it out. And I said he would be a top 1 to 5 running back, and Arian Foster was number 1. And he was not only number 1 year, he was like one of the best fantasy football running backs to ever play the game for a handful of years. Arian Foster's a monster. But anyway, what else? Actually, let me go over to Travis real quick. Travis, you're live.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
I missed part of the beginning, so I don't know what you had to say on it, but do you think the Jets can even put together like a coherent coaching staff? Like, I'm not necessarily doubting Aaron Glenn, but do you think they can get him an offensive coordinator and then build a roster, like, and actually stick to it? Because it seems like, they start a rebuild and then they go, it fails, or they go to get Aaron Rodgers and try to build up fast. And like, they have some good pieces, but do you think they can get things in line, or is it just going to be too chaotic there?
I think that we haven't seen them have a solid coach, you know, and I think Aaron Glenn is solid. I do think he's really solid, and he's got.
Right.
I think that the hiring of his OC and his DC, and we talked about his DC maybe being Shepard, the linebacker coach in Detroit, like bringing in proven, tested, bringing in his crew. So if Shepard becomes the DC, the linebacker coach in Detroit, and Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, becomes, it's like, bro, this is the same thing we're seeing like all over. It's great. Bring your boys over. Let's turn this into a, you know, in-house, you know, coaching family. So his offensive coordinator will be very interesting. Who he chooses. If he goes with freaking Adam Gase or
Shane Waldron.
Yeah, Shane Waldron or Arthur Smith decides to just leap over and like then, yeah, we're going to come in and say, you know what? Aaron Glenn might be a good mind, but he doesn't, you know, he obviously didn't pick the right guy and it's going to falter. I think a Josh McDaniels would have been, you know, a decent option. So I don't know if you heard me talk about Josh McDaniels, but I think with Vrabel, this is a good fit. This is hey, he's had success before, he's had failure before. But people judging him, I think, without just saying, hey, he's now going to be doing just offensive coordinating, focusing on something he's had very much success with in the past. Right. This is good. This is good. This is what you wanted. Vrabel at the top, lightning rod, absolute culture setter, and then a guy that has the ability to do what Kingsbury did. Everybody doubted Kingsbury, called him trash, and we said this was an amazing hire by the Commanders. You got a lightning rod culture setter over there, coming over from Dallas, bringing that mentality, and Quinn did a great job with that, and Kingsbury had to come in and just be an offensive coordinator, and it was a beautiful formula, and people are just blind. They just don't understand. They don't understand ball, or they're just their fandom's infecting their thinking, and they're just saying something ridiculous like, "Oh, Kingsbury's bad." Anybody that said Kingsbury's bad, and you remember them telling you Kingsbury's bad, stop watching them. Stop watching them. Stop listening to them. If they're your buddy, stop letting them influence your decisions. If you're like, you guys like this player, and they're like, no, like this is a ridiculous take to say that Kingsbury wasn't great. Kingsbury was an absolute aerial attack waiting to happen wherever he landed as OC. Now, if Kingsbury leaves the head coach, that's going to be a different maybe story, maybe not. He might work out, it might not. He might grow. He might have grown a lot, and then he's able to watch Quinn, how he, and Kingsbury even answered it this way. When they said, are you going to accept any interviews? He said, I'm not accepting anything until this season's over, which is a class act by Kingsbury. I love that. I hate that these coaches are going around everywhere, interviewing in the middle of you know, trying to get focused. I think it's ridiculous. I think the NFL should do away with this. There should be a frozen territory of time where during the playoffs, no coaches can actually hire. It's ridiculous. But Kingsbury missed out on the Chicago hiring, which I guess they hate him anyway. And Caleb Williams, I'm surprised, isn't wanting and pushing for it. You know, I don't know why Kingsbury isn't pushing for it. I'm sorry, Caleb isn't pushing for it publicly because he loves Kingsbury. It's just like his dad. And, you know, so now that that's off the table, I believe Kingsbury will stay put for another year. I don't think there's not another good situation left that screams, hey, step away from JD5 and stop developing him. That's ridiculous. Like he'll have the number one choice next year if he continues to develop JD5 properly. Kingsbury can walk in and be the number one sought after head coach. Right now, he'd get the third or fourth or fifth best spot, and that's not good enough. As far as Aaron Glenn's offensive coordinators, you know, I could kick around some names, but we'll just have to wait and see who they're expecting to go toward. I wouldn't mind if it was kind of a more untested name, essentially, that he trusts and he believes in. I do trust Aaron Glenn. You know, like if they were to bring in, let's say, the quarterback coach in Detroit or something, you know, I would be a little open-minded to it being something that's a little different than people expect. What I don't want is for them to go after a tested and failing, you know, offensive mind that we know we don't like. So,
Do you think Grubb gets another chance, or do you think he goes back to college, or what do you think?
that's a good question. I love Grubb in New York.
Me too.
I think Ryan Grubb as a New York offensive coordinator, that's where you would get. I think that's where you would get an absolute, turnaround. I think people judging Grubb,
Especially because
how Grubb got fired after one season with no quarterback, is beyond me.
it's crazy.
I mean, what he did with JSN and Charbonnet, for the most part, is absolutely fantastic. And the fact that this guy didn't get, another shot, another year with a better quarterback is crazy. Unless he's the one that's like, Geno's the best, and they're like, are you sure we want to go? Like, I don't think that was the case, though. I think it was like, you get Geno, here you go, do what you can. We'll see you next January, and we'll talk about whether you can return. And he's like, okay, and he does what he did, which was pretty damn good. I mean, JSN, like, the reason JSN was not an attractive player coming out of college into his first year from a rookie perspective, he was a tough player to bet on, is because of Shane Waldron and Carroll's 2 wide receiver set system. Like, the idea that you were going to have Carroll and Waldron, who don't run 3 wide receiver sets very often at all, you were going to have Lockett and DK locked into their 2 starting spots, and then JSN's supposed to thrive in a 2 wide receiver set system that rarely has 3 wide receivers on the field. So, like, the fact that Grubb came in and turned the number 3 wide receiver into the number 1 and just had a nice little aerial attack going, given you handed him Geno Smith, I think he deserves a shot. And I love that people hate him. I think they don't look very deeply into this stuff. It's all very surface level. Kingsbury sucks. He failed in Arizona, right? Oh, yeah, that's what I was told. Kingsbury sucks. Vrabel. That won't be good. I heard Ben Johnson's better than Vrabel. Guess what? Vrabel and a Josh McDaniels might be better than just Ben Johnson. I'm not saying that that's for sure, but I'm just telling you, like, there's a lot of firepower there when you're talking about 2 minds instead of 1. And Ben Johnson's never been tested as a head coach. Just like Mike McDaniel was an amazing offensive mind. He's a horrible head coach. And now, you know what? Your value of McDaniel's tainted. Now you hate Daniel. Now if I said, hey, guys, is Mike McDaniel a good offensive coordinator? You guys would say no. He's horrible.
Josh McDaniels, like you just talked about too, like, he's a horrible head coach. He's done everything wrong as a head coach almost, but he can run an offense. He's another one. And like you said, maybe Kingsbury's that way, maybe not. He's going to get another shot at it. But there's a lot of these guys that are just fantastic as a coordinator. I think Robert Saleh might be that, where he can't coach a team out of a paper bag, but he's a good defensive coordinator. Yes.
And that's why the Niners want Saleh as their defensive coordinator again. And remember, Saleh left on good terms. He gave his 2-week notice. San Francisco would hire him back. But if he goes to be a head coach somewhere, I don't know. It's weird because, in the right circumstance, maybe he could do well, but I think he's probably better suited to be a DC. But Mike McDaniel probably is still a very good offensive mind. If you brought Mike McDaniel in to be the Jets, let's say the Jets offensive coordinator, I would love that. And I think a lot of people on surface level, very reactive Rodgers, would be like, no, look what he did over in... Bro, he was head coach. Mike McDaniel's head coach is different than Mike McDaniel as your offensive coordinator, where he's handcuffed to certain decisions and only those decisions. Like, people don't look at this stuff. It's maddening. Fire Mike McDaniel. Bring him over to New York.
He turned Tua into a 4,600-yard passer.
People don't see straight. They just don't. It's fine. Yeah. Who's your sleeper QB? Bryce, Bo, Penix, Drake? I think one of these league winners. Keep your fan bro off Penix. I know you love him. You mean my fandom? Daniel, I'm not going to...
I think he means like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel, do you think I'm
Don't be biased.
am I a biased person? Have I not proven to you that at this point I don't let any fandom or bias really get involved? I mean, that's why a lot of people will come in here and say something about me flip-flopping on a player, because it's adjust and adapt. It's always going to be. If you want somebody that's going to predict something in August and stand by it all year long, no matter what they feel, if they're like, this looks different. I don't like this now. I want to sell this player. I know I said to draft Kenneth Walker, but it's time to sell him. When I did that, everybody flipped out. They're like, why? Wait a minute. Kenneth Walker was your preseason darling. Doesn't matter. It's adjust and adapt, baby. That's the way it is. Sell before you lose value. If you're not first, you're last. Scared money don't make money. And so when you say it like this, oh, am I gonna allow my Penix Jr. Fandom takeover? I'm not a fan. I'm not a Penix Jr. fan. I'm not an Atlanta Falcon fan. I'm an objective thinker that has isolated Penix Jr. as being a monster, and it has nothing to do with fandom. The fact that, Daniel, and I appreciate your super chat, and I'm not mad at you. I'm just answering your question with passion. The fact that you think my belief in Penix Jr. is built off anything other than fantasy football analysis, I don't understand what you think. This is not fandom involved. My entire liking Penix Jr. as a great quarterback has nothing to do with fandom. It's the essence of what this show is and the essence of making a prediction. It has nothing to do with fandom. I don't know where you even got that. I don't know where you thought at any point me liking Penix Jr. had to do with some biased take. So of these quarterbacks, Penix Jr., baby, fire him up. If I'm going to toss out another QB, I'd probably say my sleeper quarterback for the 2025 season, if I had to throw out some names to you, and I'm going to go past, I mean, Bo Nix is a great breakout, but he's not a sleeper, bro. I mean, he's going to go in the top 6, 7, 8. Penix Jr. will be more of a sleeper because he'll probably fall outside the top 10 for a lot of people. Anthony Richardson's got some bounce back potential. Jordan Love's got some intrigue because he'll fall. Drake May's very nice. I like Drake May. Shador, the rookies. Justin Herbert's really intriguing because he just had a 4 interception game that's got people in a tizzy, and he's nowhere to be found in people's top 10 quarterback rankings. So I kind of like him. Dak Prescott, a bounce back. And these don't have to be unknown guys. I think that a lot of times sleeper quarterbacks emerge when people just throw a person out and write them off. Like Dak Prescott will probably be one of the best values you'll find in fantasy at the quarterback position because he's going to go way outside the top 10, but he's got proven top 5 potential at any given season. Baker is going to continue to do well. Shador and Cam Ward will be interesting based on landing spot. But I think, Trevor Lawrence could bounce back a little bit. Justin Fields, depending on where he's at. It's a great group of trying to find a nice little quarterback in there. But I'm not drafting these guys to start unless it's Penix Jr. maybe in some sort of. I'm drafting a big name quarterback almost every single time. The early quarterback is not even early quarterback anymore. Early quarterback is middle round quarterback. And I'm not afraid to take a middle round quarterback, and people call it early round quarterback. I just laugh in their face and I tell them to go get us a coffee. Appreciate your super chat, Daniel. I wasn't mad at you. Did Daniel take it hard? I wasn't mad at him. I was just answering. I don't think he's responded. Maybe he's gone. Hey, Daniel, I'm just telling you how it is. Wait a minute. Daniel's a firefighter. This guy's tough as nails. This guy, he didn't even budge. that was like having a normal conversation for Daniel. This guy's probably rock solid. Daniel, appreciate you, bro.
That's why there was no reaction.
Yeah, he's like, what are you talking about? This isn't you being tough. This is just us having a conversation. Daniel's tough as nails. Daniel, appreciate you. Firefighter, man. All you firefighters out there.
The thing I was going to ask you about Herbert. It's funny how people get down on guys after one game because he only had 3 picks the whole season.
Yeah.
With that offense, it's like I saw it similar in the beginning of the year, like you did. kind of holding out to see, are they going to throw enough? What's the offense going to be like? The Harbaugh offense, all that. The second half of the year, he threw plenty.
Yeah.
And if they go and get another good receiver and he's throwing that much, he can be a top quarterback. I don't know if it'll ever be a top
Herbert
five,
and Dak.
Top 6, 7, 8 guy.
Herbert
that can happen?
Herbert and Dak are going to be steals. Absolute steals.
Okay, yeah.
Will maybe people come around on
second half of the season was great.
Yeah, will people come around on Herbert? Maybe, but I looking at it, you're talking about a lot of quarterbacks that are probably going to rank ahead of him, and just the 4 interception outing on the way out the door is going to piss some people off. We'll see. JD5 went 6-7 in your leagues. I mean, yeah, BBQ, he was climbing at the end. You were able to get him. Yeah, he likes the card. Smitty got to stick to fantasy. I don't know what you mean, Dice Boy. Dice Boy, you're on thin ice anyway. So any comment you make, I'm willing to potentially take it the wrong way. I'm just telling you that right now. Brock Purdy, this is the Brock Purdy caller, right, Dice Boy? Yeah, that's why. Dice Boy, you're last person I'm trusting is you, because you think Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. Brock Purdy. That was the guy yesterday. That was the guy yesterday. And you're always welcome to call him Dice Boy. I'm not mad at you, but this is the guy yesterday. It was like, Brock Purdy, he's so much better. Who was it that he said he was better than? It was a laughable debate. Who was it?
Oh, man. Someone will remember. Who was it?
I don't know. Fantasy football court. Breece versus Genty. We could definitely do that one, Toner. That's fine. What's the verdict on Breece Hall? I mean, watch the show, bro. But the verdict is that everyone's going to freak out on him, bro. 3rd round value. This is where the line in the sand potentially is for Breece Hall, where we say avoid. Go get him. And if this is where he's going to go, that's fantastic value. You're baking in all the risk and all the petrified Peters and overreactive Oscars and everybody that's going to bring, oh, but he did this last year. Oh, but he failed me here last year from number 6 overall. They're just going to slowly, it's a subtle thing. It's the frog in boiling water. If you draft him, if you have to draft him in the top 5, you're jumping out, right? Like the frog, you throw a frog in boiling water, he jumps out. If you're just sitting there being negative on Breece Hall and not even noticing him fall, and he falls to the mid-3rd round, and you're still saying things that mirror what you were saying when he was a top 5 pick, you're not adjusting and adapting. He's completely a different player in the 3rd round. This is HN and Kyron from last year. But rewatch it, Apex. You'll learn a lot. Paul Smitty with the lots of running backs coming out of 2025 class. What do we do with Kyron, Breece, and James Cook? What do we do with them? Well,
people are going to be down on Kyron because he fumbled.
Yeah.
Same thing. Crazy.
I mean, Daniel says you can't hurt me. We believe it, bro. We believe it. Daniel, thank you for your super chat. Thank you for being a firefighter. Appreciate you. What's your house? I can shout it out. I don't know if you guys, if there's multiple of you in there that play fantasy football, but let them know. We'll do like a house shout out regular thing for you, Daniel. Whenever we see you, let me know. Let's get all the boys involved. Denny, where you at? Says Sim. Thank you, Apex. Appreciate you. As far as this question, I mean, it's a really vague question. I mean, what are we doing with them? Because the rookie running back class is deep. It doesn't have any relation, really. You're trying to tell me that now we can turn to the new class because they're coming in. Let's get rid of these. Like, you don't know what the new class is going to do, and you don't even know where they're going to land. You don't know how many are going to explode. I think it is a good class. It for sure is a good class, but it also, you don't know. You don't know. So Kyron and Breece Hall, they're, Genty, I rank Genty above them. I think Scattaboo is going to be in the conversation of this kind of value, sure. But James Cook is still a top 12 running back. Breece Hall is a top 6 to 10 running back with the upside to rebound. And Kyron Williams is a top 5 guy, like a top 5 running back. I don't really know what the rookies have to do with this. If you mean like from a dynasty perspective, do you sell to get Genty? Sure. But am I past Genty getting rid of Kyron or Breece? No. Would I trade James Cook for Scatterboo straight up in a dynasty? Probably. Just go ASU. I don't know. I probably would. I bank on him. But there's risk involved. There's definitely risk involved. Rock out. Oh, go ahead, Travis.
I was just going to say, Kyron, I mean, like we talked about on the show, Breece Hall, we got to see what happens with the roster and coaches and this and that. But at the rate we see him, great. Kyron and Cook, you pretty much know what you're going to get, barring any big changes. They're pretty steady guys in terms of where they're going to fall if they get the same workload.
Would I in Dynasty and maybe we should have I'm going to start doing the flip the script thing. If anybody ever drops, I think I got a menu here somewhere. Let me see where my menu is. Super chat menu. $20 whiteboard eval, $20 risk map plot. And if anybody doesn't know what the risk map is, let me show you that right now. Where's my risk map? I think I have it right here somewhere. Where is it? Here it is. There we go.
The risk map determines a player's upside and lack of risk. A score of 10 is the most possible. 5 is mediocre upside, while a score of 1 is no upside at all. On the lack of risk scale, 10 means near no risk. 1 would mean the most risk possible. The point where the x-axis meets the y-axis is the value. Above 8 on both sides is in the unicorn zone, where a player is considered elite.
So, with the risk map assessment, if anybody ever wants their player, explained in great detail on the risk map, that can be done on the menu, the super chat menu. So risk map plotting, whiteboard, eval, open the phone lines for you at any time. Anybody drops a $50 hauler, they can dial in and I open the phone line for them immediately. But I'm also going to put on here a flip the script. So essentially, if you want me to argue the other side of something at any moment, you drop a $20 hauler, just, put a little recycle sign or whatever and just say, Smitty, flip the script on Caleb Williams. And I got to come in here and give you a positive take on Caleb Williams. I might do both. I might give you both just so you guys know where I really stand. I don't want to mislead anybody that tunes in for the first time. And I argue Caleb for Caleb and then I end it and move on. Like I'll probably give both takes, but I will give you at least a 2-minute or more pro Caleb take or any pro anybody take if you give me that sign in your super chat at the $20 hauler. So flip the script. Why did I mention that? What were we talking about? What player?
Like cooking. Was it like cooking Scatterboo or for Dynasty?
No.
Running back?
Maybe it's Kyron. Kyron, yeah, okay. Good reminder. It's Kyron.
Okay.
Maybe we need to come in and do some flip the scripts on Kyron, flip the scripts on some players that have had a lot of success. We predicted it, but there's been sketchiness to their value and they've been floating above it. Like Kyron has been floating above all the negativity, but there is going to be a time where he does fall off. And so I could flip the script and argue, I could argue that there's a world where I would trade Kyron and go after this player, or I would trade, Kyron and go after Dylan Sampson and a receiver. If I could get JSN and a pick that lands me Dylan Sampson, is that better than just Kyron in a dynasty? Yeah. So like things like that. I should flip the script on Kyron a little bit because there is some risk, that gets injected every year we go by, and he's a running back taking on massive workload. But I think the cure is you cuff him to Corum. Like if you've got Kyron and Corum, and McVay's only going to use one running back, you will be covered. But there is something to drafting just Corum this year, and maybe you go wide receiver shopping instead of Kyron. And you take a player like, I don't know, or even quarterback shopping. Like instead of taking Kyron in round 2, if you go Josh Allen or JD5, and then you bargain shop at running back, and you're able to get, I'm okay with all that. There's nothing wrong with that. I could easily flip the script, and that's probably what a flip the script Kyron episode would be. It wouldn't be really knocking down Kyron as much as saying there's some risk involved, and here's some players I might like better than Kyron. This is how I can flip the script on Kyron. That's probably what you'd hear out of me more so than any like negative Kyron talk. But, he is going to take on, at some point he's going to break down. He's a running back. Rock out. You got anything final before I leave? I'm going to come back tonight. Maybe do that Derrick Henry video. Anything else, Rock out?
Yeah, are you doing the coaching segment like you did last year with the GMs and the coaches? And
Yes, sir.
offensive coordinators?
Absolutely. I haven't created it yet, but I need to.
Yeah, I was wondering.
I think I have. Let me see if I can find it. I think I have it. What is this? Oh, that was projections. What is, let me see if I can find it. I want to say I have it somewhere. Coaching. There's some old stuff here. How did I predict the AFC North? 12-5, 11-6, 10-7, 9-8. I mean, that's pretty decent.
Yeah.
Where's my damn coaching? I want to say I have it somewhere here. I don't know where though. Rock out. I'm looking for it. Coaching. I got it somewhere. I'll find it, but I'll tweak it. I'll definitely tweak it. I think it's something we definitely need to have, the coaching carousel for sure. All right, I'll be back. Probably for if not this take, this will be tomorrow, and then I'll do the Dynasty and redraft version. So I think tonight might be something different because I want to drop those at the same time. So tonight, probably looking at don't forget that video is coming. Probably looking at, I don't know, maybe we do a flip the script episode where you guys and we'll do a discounted version. Any super chat like for $5 hauler and above can flip the script. You give a player and you have me argue both sides for 2 minutes on each side. Maybe that's what we do tonight. Oh, pulled my back up, by the way. All right, boys. Anything else?
Good.
Rock out.
Yeah, Smitty, why people defending Hurts in the playoffs when he's been so terrible?
I don't know. Ask Ron Navy.
That is interesting.
Ask Ron Navy. Ask anybody. Like, is Hurts a good quarterback? Absolutely. He's a good quarterback. Is he an elite quarterback? He's an elite weapon. He's an elite weapon. He is not an elite quarterback. So depending on how you define the situation. Now, was he an elite quarterback? Was he an elite passer at one point? Yeah. With Shane Steichen, he was a 300-yard, 3 TD capable quarterback any given day. But he has now become a weapon, a very awesome weapon. Like Taysom Hill was awesome. But were we sitting here going Taysom Hill's an amazing quarterback? No, but Taysom Hill was a weapon. And I think Bo Milton is a very similar weapon that hopefully Vrabel and McDaniels know they have, and they use them that way. I wonder if McDaniels will know and feel the same way, but I would use Bo Milton like Taysom Hill. But again, Jalen Hurts is better than that. I get it. He's obviously a good passer at times, but right now he's passing like dog water. Is he playing good weapon football? Sure. Tush, push it in. He's the best tush pusher in the business. But is he a good quarterback right now? No. That's why I was asinine to argue Mahomes as a GM, not fantasy, as a GM, to argue Hurts over Mahomes the other night. That was just a dumb topic. It was a ridiculous topic. from an NFL
I like
GM
Can't
perspective.
even throw for 200 yards in the playoffs.
He can't throw for 140, Jalen Hurts. He's trash right
Yeah,
now.
91.
Throwing the ball, he's trash. Is he a good weapon? Yes. So understand what I'm saying. I had a couple people laughing, saying, I can't believe you think Jalen Hurts is trash. Jalen Hurts is a trash passer right now. That is not
Right now.
an opinion. That is fact. He is a pass trasher, or a trashy passer, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right, boys, I'll see you tonight. Later.
Yep. Later.
We'll be back. Flip the script maybe tonight. I don't know what topic we'll kick it off with, but maybe I'll come up with a player maybe it will be Kyron. Flip the script, Kyron, put a couple faces on the thumbnail. But any super chat, did I miss the super chat already? I'm so sorry, Daniel. Who was your sleep? Oh, no, I did get to that one. Thank you, Daniel, for the super chat. Thank you, Calvin. Thank you, Jazz. Thank you, Ray G. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you guys for your super chats. You guys are awesome. Shout out to, let's see, did Daniel give me his Daniel didn't give me his house. I was going to shout out his firehouse, but Daniel, appreciate you. Thank you all. Appreciate you all. Is James Cook a buy? Yeah, in the right context, sure, but not somebody who's like on the top of my buy list, you know. All right, see you all tonight.